Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Barrens Chat Podcast. I'm Sod, and with me today is my co-host Guck. This is a podcast about World of Warcraft by two guys who play it. For this episode, we're going to focus on the last 2 weeks of 8.2 to see if the reality of the situation lived up to the hype, and we're going to get into the upcoming raid tier, the Eternal Palace, and the Mega Dungeon, Mechagon. Guck, what have you thought about the last couple weeks of WoW, and how are you liking this patch?
So the past couple weeks have been kind of up and down. It ultimately just feels like two new BFA zones that don't really bring anything new. The stuff that you can do on these islands is different than the stuff you can do on Kultiris or Zandalar, but ultimately it's just kind of repackaged versions of the same stuff. You're doing daily quests, you're doing world quests, you might be grinding up rep still just to get flying, and ultimately you're just getting flying so that you can go through these systems more quickly. It's not really a very meaningful thing to get. It's kind of like, I'm getting this so that I'm not as inconvenienced by the systems that are in place. It's not really a sign of a good system if that's what you're doing. The Mana Pearl system, it's fine for someone like me. I can just kind of save up and for sure get the mount. For someone who's looking to get their tunes geared up because they didn't play for the last few months, they can use the benthic gear upgrades. But it's largely catch-up mechanics that we talked about in the last episode, right? Those are all present and, fine. But the gameplay that exists for those of us who are here to play the game, it's just shallow.
Yeah, the catch-up gear, the benthic gear, like I sent that all over to my recently dinged 120, and I took months off of the game and I don't even use it, so I've been saving all my mana pearls as well in the dailies and the world quests. I mean, that's really all it's been so far. I know you've unlocked flying, right? So you're soaring through Azeroth right now.
That's right. I managed to unlock flying without doing any of the pet battles. I was tempted. I started pet battling and I leveled some tunes up. I even bought some of the level 25 ones expecting to be able to use it, but the real barrier to entry is getting your first pet battle leveled up to 25 so that you can either unlock a cage that you bought off the auction house for a level 25 pet, or have enough skilled pets that you can earn polished pet charms to buy the battle stones or whatever they're called that level your pets up for you. So you have to kind of go through one of those two avenues, but before you can do that, you still have to level one of your pets up to 25, and that was going to take an amount of time I was not willing to commit. So I ended up just doing excess world quests with a contract on. And yeah, now I've got flying.
Yeah, I've dabbled in the pet battles a little bit when I was trying to unlock the Mankar orcs, and like you, I gave up rather quick. It's good content for the people that are into it. It's just not something that's for me.
So the fact that we're going to have flying and the fact that we can do world quests and things like that faster, that is the benefit. It's not going to be like a testament to how fun Rustbolt or Unshackled quests were. The development team is going to say, oh, look, in the first 2 weeks of this patch, people spent a lot of time playing in these new zones. That must mean these new zones are good, because we all know that the metric that the development team looks at is playtime. But that's not really the case. It's all just a means to an end. In fact, to limit the amount of played time just to fly around and kind of expedite the process.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not running around Mechagon or Nazjatar because I like the zones. And if anything, Nazjatar, although it's an incredibly beautiful zone, and the art and even the music in it, and same with Mechagon, are cool. I don't really enjoy getting dismounted every 5 seconds. Anytime a mob hits me, I'm down and I have to fight my way out of it. And if unfortunately there's like 4 or 5 mobs chasing me, I'm gonna die and I'm gonna have to corpse run, and that is not pleasant for me.
Yeah, I mean, but again, isn't that something that we liked about Classic? The fact that you have to be kind of careful with where you go. Some places are dangerous, and maybe Nashatar is one of those dangerous places.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, but at the same time, in Classic, we're not max level in full raid gear equivalent to the second tier raid that came out, so I guess it's hard to judge. I mean, if you're in full tier 2 in Classic, what's it going to be like running around in the world? Is anything really going to threaten you? Maybe a couple giant elites will, but I mean, our standard Naga or the Silithid in Silithus gonna mess you up in Classic? I don't know. It's a possibility, I guess.
The zone isn't a pre-raid environment necessarily. Like, sure, you can have a zone where the entire zone is the pre-raid environment, but there are some zones where the raid is just a part of the zone. And in Nazjatar, every single aspect of it is a pre-Eternal Palace kind of aspect. So no matter what you're doing, you're in this kind of pre-raid zone for the patch 8.2 raid. And it's just not as it has the same kind of appeal that I understand from Classic, where there's something epic to do, and it makes it very apparent that this epic thing is looming over your head. But it's much less mysterious. It's hitting you over the head instead of something that maybe it's something that you've only flown over as a flight path. That's something that I found to be really kind of subtle. The things that you see as you fly over them in Classic were, these motivators to go and explore and go and do things. But now it's just like, we're going to drop you in a zone. We're going to hit you over the head with why you're there. And you're not going to do any of this figuring out on your own.
I guess that's part of it's like a sense of mystery, right? Like in Classic all those years ago, I mean, everything in this game was new. And, nowadays it's kind of like been there, done that. And you just kind of want to get your flying mount and move on. I mean, really, that's all I'm doing those dailies for every day anyway, so I can get flying. And then I'll head back in there when it's the emissary or if I'm trying to grind the world quests out. And flying will save me a lot of time in that. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a reason to get exalted. Have you heard of anything that would motivate you to get exalted?
No, I mean not that I've seen, but Paragon bags and AP min maxing I guess would be a good enough reason for a lot of people. A lot of those one percenters are just people trying to min max their characters.
Right. Well, I would say at that point, I mean, that's a huge investment of time. And when you're already exalted in the pre-existing reputations, the time that you have, if you spend it getting more of that rep, you're going to get closer to a Paragon cache than if you burn through Revered into Exalted for two different ones. I mean, I'm sure the people who are at the top 1%, if they have the time to do both, will obviously do both because that's two more Paragon caches. But for someone like me, who I like to min-max on a budget, of time and of gold. So I don't know how hard I'm going to push for Paragon caches of Rustbolt or the Unshackled, because I've already got Paragon caches from Vol'dun and Champions of Azeroth. Those are
now,
already more valuable to me.
Let me ask you this: the new raid and the new mega dungeon are out tomorrow. What's your game plan? Are you going to run Mechagon first thing in the afternoon and then raid tomorrow night? What's on your schedule?
So Tuesday, Wednesday is my guild's raid schedule, and we raid kind of late in the evening. So I've already got my Eternal Palace schedule put away. I've got all my essences kind of geared up. I'm ready to activate the new ones that I'll unlock once Season 3 opens. That's the other thing. With Eternal Palace opening, there are a bunch of new essences that are now unlockable through Season 3 being available. So you'll have to do a +4 or above Mythic Plus. You'll have to do some PvP. There are some other Season 3 related things that you can do to unlock better essences, rank 2 essences, whatever it is. Obviously, there's the AK increase, so I'm going to try and get 54 or potentially 55 on my neck if I can. All of that is going to be focused around raid prep. So because I want to be a really prepared raider going into the raid, I'm going to focus on that stuff. If I get through all of that, I 100% want to dive into Operation Mechagon. That is going to be a ton of fun, but I think just because of the way things are lining up, it's going to be a lot of time on Tuesday, and I'm going to need that time to do my raid prep.
Yeah. So now, are you guys gonna hit heroic? Is normal not even in the game for you guys right now, or what's
Normal isn't even in the game for us. We're gonna dive into heroic. We have guys that are all 415-ish eye level. We're ready to go. I would say heroic is where we should start, and I expect to go pretty far in that first week.
Yeah, just have everybody start heroic, pug normal in your own time. I mean, normal gets cleared by pug groups all like the first week anyway, even on the first day. So
For this last tier, Battle of Dazarlor, I do remember getting ahead of the curve that first week, so I wouldn't be surprised if we did an AOTC run again this first week.
I mean, that'd be impressive, right? I mean, especially with like, I think it was Killed Jaden, which would be the equivalent raid of this raid tier in this expansion. He wasn't killed right away, was he?
No, he was not. And is she the Kill Jaden? Let's think about that. So Uldir is the Emerald Nightmare. Then Trial of Valor is the Crucible. So yeah, I guess Jaina would be last expansion Skul'dan, and Ajara is Legion's Kill Jaden, 100%.
Yeah, and I think he was killed. Not, I know he was killed in the first week, but it wasn't on the first night. So, or maybe he was. Who the hell knows?
I think at least if my guild doesn't do it, I'm going to spend some time over the weekend running some pugs and getting some really good pulls in to get AOTC first week. I just like getting that out of the way.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge milestone to get out of the way. It's also a guaranteed invite to pugs on your alts. So
exactly,
having that achievement is huge for anybody that likes to get into heroic raids. As invited as much as possible, even on a slightly undergeared alt. You just link that achievement, and a lot of groups invite you.
Yeah, honestly, the experience that achievement proves you have means a lot early. If you get it after the first few weeks, it's not nearly as meaningful because at that point people are selling it and you can just buy it, and the achievement won't really mean as much, especially if you're undergeared. People are going to assume that you bought it. So as long as your gear's up and you have that achievement and you can show maybe a log or some element of knowledge of the fight, that is one of the best ways to guarantee a spot, especially if you have a DPS alt. You're not a healer or tank, so it's hard to get in. That's what might be what you need to get into the door.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to get into the raid tomorrow night. I'm gonna whisper one of the officers in the guild and see if I can prove myself. And then when wipes start to happen, and I'm noticeably the worst person because I'm the least geared, least neck level, so on, I'll just step out and I'll keep trying to work on myself, try to crack that raid team.
Yeah, I mean, you've always been very self-aware about that. Even as an officer back in our guild in Legion, I remember you sitting yourself on nights where you were off, and that wasn't ever I never felt it was like a Sod just doesn't want to raid, so he's taking the night off. It was always like Sod is being self-aware and doesn't want to hold people back on the mechanic right now.
Sometimes you don't have it. Maybe the numbers are low. I mean, my numbers will definitely be low compared to a lot of people, but I try to pride myself on doing mechanics well and at least doing what needs to be done to get the boss down. So if I'm not up to par on that, then just sit out and come back next time. I'm definitely gonna keep working on it, and I'm definitely gonna try to get ahead of the curve this tier. So the new flasks, the new pots, the new enchants, like all that improved stuff, is that gonna start being mandatory for your raid team, or is that gonna be not something you guys are worried about in the first couple weeks?
That is 100% something that we are going to mandate. It's already been mandated. We spent the last 2 weeks when the professions were immediately upgraded that Tuesday. We had to go and upgrade our stuff for our last few attempts at Jaina. So we've already moved on to the 8.2 gems and enchants, which I think is good because we would have wanted everyone to do that for Eternal Palace anyways.
Yeah, so you're ahead of the game, so that's good then. Now, in regards to Mechagon, what item level does that drop? Is any of that going to be relevant for the new raid tier on any difficulty? Is that like a normal equivalent drop, or is that just like a standard Mythic Dungeon drop?
Yeah, so we might end up getting some Mechagon loot. The cool thing about Operation Mechagon is even though it's Mythic only, the base Mythic run of it will drop 415 gear. And one of the really cool 415 gears that drop out of it are, there's actually kind of two things. There's punch cards that you can use to increase that really cool Mechagon trinket, or you can get those logic loops. The logic loops are these if-then kind of relationship items that a lot of people have been talking about, and honestly I'm really excited to look at the possible mixing and matching with the different if conditions and the then outputs. that you can get only in Operation
I
Mechagon.
like the punch card. I get like it's just gems inside the trinket, which I think is cool. What is the other thing that you're talking about in there?
The logic loops, yeah. So there are two different items. You're going to have one item where its effect is pointless because you'll need one of these other items to kind of like complete a two set, and then the two set has a really cool effect that's determined by each piece. So the first piece will be like if you dodge a certain number of attacks, dot dot dot, and then you'll have another separate piece of equipment that has a then statement that'll say then you deal
Oh,
X amount
okay.
of damage or you heal for X amount of health, something like that. So it's like a customizable two set that you can get from mixing and matching your drops only from
Yeah,
Mechagon.
that's I think that's pretty cool too. It's a different way to customize your character and maybe adjust the play style a little bit.
Yeah, I mean they ripped set pieces away from us when this expansion started, and this is the closest that we're kind of getting back to those good, like really good systems of character
Yeah,
progression.
I mean set pieces and even legendaries in Legion. I mean that those would change the way you played the game, right? So I think it's kind of cool to get back to that. Maybe adjust how your character plays. Definitely be pretty cool for various interactions, even in PvP or something like that. Now, I mean the new raid tier is out, which I think is awesome. Is it enough to? I mean, are you expecting a lot of people to come back into the game? Like, is guild recruitment and attendance going to get better? What do you think? Do you have any predictions on that?
I would say population on the servers will increase on Tuesday just because of the raid. I think people will be interested in just checking out the raid. They want to check out Operation Mechagon, but I don't know if that translates necessarily into guild recruitment. I think it kind of depends on how people feel that day. My first impressions, I honestly wasn't really blown away by 8.2, so I don't know if a lot of people will really feel into it enough after they play through the introduction to 8.2 that they want to also dive into a guild and get back into raiding, min-maxing the AP on their neck. Once they realize that essences are really, it's another AP grind, and you really are going to be putting in a lot of time into it if you want to unlock those greater essences. I expect there to be more people. I don't know if it translates into greater guild recruitment because I don't know if the people stick around. 8.2 is okay so far. It's all going to depend on the quality of the Eternal Palace raid and Operation Mechagon.
Yeah, I mean, I would say raid tiers in the last few years, something like every raid I think has been excellent as far as like a lot of the fights go. I've had a lot of fun in the fights. The only thing, like I played a lot through Nighthold. We did Mythic progression. Tomb of Sargeras as a warlock took forever for me to run through. I mean, if we wiped, it takes me forever to run back if I didn't set a soul stone up or we used all the battle reses. Then I'm running back forever because there was nowhere to mount in there. So I hope this isn't a place like that. I'd like to be able to get back to pulling and not waste time running back to where we left off. But I mean, that being said, the fights in that raid and all, I would say all the raids have been pretty awesome, and I think that's something they do a good job with. I hope like attendance will be up. I would think for the next week or two, and we'll see if people stick around. I think a lot of the mythic raid grinding wears people down, and it's tough to maintain a roster because of that. And I think because mythic raiding has been less successful, like population wise, not gameplay wise, but just maintaining a population of players, I think that hurts the game itself. I think having a lot of high tier raiders is good for the game, and hopefully we'll see a big jump in that.
Yeah, another thing that you'll want to consider as someone who's coming back in 8.2 and does kind of want to raid, your first day, you may want to focus on running as many Mythic 7s as you can, because for Season 3, loot dropping out of Mythic Plus dungeons is going to be capped at that 420 Blaze It eye level until July 16th. So, right, how we'll get a really great adjustment. Basically, there's a plus 30 eye level increase on your end of dungeon and weekly chest rewards out of your Mythic Plus. Mythic Plus 7 is now 420 with a weekly chest of 430. You'll still want to do the 10 for the week, but when you do that 10, it won't drop 430 gear until July 16th. It's going to drop 420 gear at the end of dungeon. Your weekly chest will be 440, but your end of dungeon is going to be capped at 420. So everyone will still be doing that normal weekly plus 10, but the farmed key is going to be the plus 7. That's the ideal farm key for today.
Yeah, maybe that'll be my raid prep.
I'll be there with you, man. I could definitely use a couple 420 rings. My rings aren't that great, so that's something that I would not mind running. That's something that a lot of people are going to be interested in. So it's going to be pretty easy if you've got a tank or a healer friend to get a lot of plus 7s done.
Yeah, I think that's cool too. I remember they did that in season 2, and that was a big thing. And I like Mythic Plus, but with all that gear dropping out of it, that really eliminates the need to raid normal for sure, and it probably eliminates most of heroic, I would imagine. Or no, it doesn't eliminate heroic. The 10s will eliminate heroic. So yeah, it's a good prep to get into heroic tomorrow night, and eliminates your need for normal. It'll at least get you invited to normal groups if you spam a few of those.
That's a lot of what I'm going to be focused on. The new Mythic Plus season, that's going to unlock another essence. The new PvP season 3 of PvP, is also going to unlock an essence that's really good for Brewmasters, Conflict, and Strife. So I'm actually going to start doing some ranked PvP next week as well to get an essence.
Oh, God. Nothing sounds more miserable to me. I do enjoy rated battlegrounds when you have a team of people that maybe aren't taking it so serious but have fun. I had a lot of fun with that in Legion, but I'm not very good at PvP. So I do enjoy doing it, but I'm just not very good at it.
So to get rank 2, rank 1 seems pretty easy. Earn 500 conquest and just claim a weekly PvP chest. So that just means participating, essentially.
Yeah.
Rank 2, you have to reach 1,000 rating in rated PvP. I don't think that's going to be very tough. I think that's another level of kind of time-gated participation. I don't think you really need an overwhelming amount of skill to hit 100 rank points.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think it'll be... It's a grind, I think. You start at 0, you work your way up. I don't even think you lose points until you hit 1,000. So I think you're right. It's essentially just putting the time in, putting your effort in. So it's not too bad.
So yeah, those are my season 3 expectations. You got Mythic Plus. So I'll have to do some PvP. I'm going to do the raid prep, and then awesome new mega dungeon. There seems to be a lot of stuff on Tuesday.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. I think this week coming up will be really enjoyable. A lot of stuff to do, new content to run. Character progression will be good. You'll at least be able to upgrade yourself pretty exponentially. For me, I think if I'm doing plus 7s, it's pretty much upgrades just about every piece of gear I have. So it's huge for me. Should be good. Should be at least a lot of fun stuff to do. It's always fun when you can get loot out of pretty much everything that you run, as opposed to hoping RNGesus helps you out with the Titan Forge. I think it's a way better way to play the game.
Yeah, most of our guys are around 415, so I would expect most of the guild will be running Mythic plus 7s to get 420 upgrades. Because that's what we were getting out of Mythic was 415. So everyone can use a 420, but it's just a matter of how much is a 5 eye level upgrade. Do you have other slots you can target and things like that? But there's going to be a lot of content for people like me on Tuesday, the people who are trying to kind of min-max to some extent. So I'm excited.
Enjoy seeing a lot of people online, a lot of people looking for groups. Should be fun. You're definitely gonna have a couple bad apples in there, but I think it'll be an awesome day, an awesome week. I'm looking forward to just having stuff to do instead of getting on and bashing my head against the wall and grinding dailies. I think that'll be good for the game. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this episode of the Barrens Chat Podcast. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to us talk about World of Warcraft. If you have any comments or questions, you can contact us at barenschatpod@gmail.com, and we're also on Twitter at barenschatpod. We'll have a Discord coming to you soon. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a good day, and enjoy this week in World of Warcraft.